happened to you as a kid? The worst thing. I can tell you what happened to me. On November the 4th, 1976, my biological father repeatedly stabbed my mother while she was getting ready for bed, attempting to kill her and me. My aunt said that she almost fainted when she saw all the slashes in my mother's gown and the massive amounts of blood. They didn't think that either of us would make it, but we did. I was actually born that night. That was rejection for me. For me, rejection started in the womb, and then it carried on to different parts of my childhood. I remember when I was younger, being teased and sometimes even bullied for the complexion of my skin, which is crazy when Black and brown people do that to each other, because we're just born. We're not born choosing our complexion. We just enter this world. So that isn't fair to us. I didn't look like anyone in my household. And at the time, my stepdad didn't want me, and he made it obvious. So I didn't know where I fit in. Not in my household, not in my community. I'm talking about the secret to owning your story. By the age of 12, I was molested several times by different people. I was raped twice. And that trauma, it shaped me. It shaped my identity. It shaped my self-esteem and my self-worth and ultimately my behavior. Our adult relationships are formed and heavily impacted by our childhood ones. Needless to say, I didn't know who I was or how to be in healthy relationships. I wasn't even in a healthy relationship with myself. I mean, who am I fooling? Women who have been abused, who've gone through abuse and trauma situations, have a higher risk of developing a mental health condition. Conditions such as depression, anxiety, and PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. There are many behaviors that can manifest in your life when you've gone through trauma and abuse. For example, it can show up as a life void of healthy boundaries. You can be someone with yes on autopilot, not knowing how to say no, unwilling to ask for what you want, or even to speak up for yourself, for fear of rejection and for fear of people not liking you. That's a trauma response. Sometimes it show up as promiscuity and being addicted to sex. And other times, others have the exact opposite response, and they're actually triggered when touched. They don't want to be touched. They don't have a healthy sex life at all. Some want zero commitment, no committed relationship because they don't trust anyone. There are others who wear so many masks that they don't even know who they are for real. Me? I've experienced many of these negative manifestations, and since overcoming them, many women have come to me for help. And as a result, they have silenced the negative self-talk. They're more courageous, they're more confident. They have healthy boundaries, and best of all, They see the possibilities. Seeing possibilities is not to be taken lightly. It activates faith and hope. And where are we if we don't have hope? When you're someone walking and you're seeing possibilities, let me tell you something. If a thought enters your mind that is contrary to what you now know and who you now know yourself to be, oh, you shut it down. You shut it down. You audit that thought to see if it's even true. Where did it come from? Why is it there? These are questions that you start to ask yourself. And in regularly doing that, regularly auditing your thoughts, you become what I like to call high in self-awareness. That's a game changer. It's a life changer. I want to share something with you guys. I'm talking about the secret to owning your story. So I want to share a piece of my story with you. The mindset that was shaped in me from the circumstances of my childhood, the ones I share with you and those that I haven't. But those situations, it put me along a dark path. And as a young adult, I found myself in a smoky strip club, center stage, topless, swaying to the music as men tossed money at my feet. From there, I said yes to a proposition that became one of many. Never say what you'll never do, because you never know. And that's real. Because I said I'd never do that. But for years, I traveled to different states, staying in different 4- and 5-star hotels, and I exchanged my body for money. One day I remember sitting on the bed in one of those rooms, having a drink, waiting on my next client, and I asked myself, Tara, what are you doing? What are you even doing? Why are you doing this? It was in that moment that I felt the shame and the full reality of what I had become. I came to myself that day. Afterward, I never escorted again. But what I did instead was become what many like to call a pimp or a madam, but I just called myself a scheduler because I made appointments. I basically scheduled and collected money. Scheduled appointments, I picked up money. You may call that a pimp, you may call that a madam, but I was a scheduler. When you're in those spaces, all of that is normal to you. You see people for who they are. You see people not for who they pretend to be. Like you see them. You see them for who they are. You see that everybody kneeling ain't praying. It's a different world. It's a different world. Again, I'm talking about the secret to owning your story. There was a time that I was deeply depressed. After God saved me out of that world, I had a hard climb to get to a place of self-love and forgiveness and acceptance. And when I started dating my now second husband, I didn't know I was depressed. I didn't know it. I didn't know it because I wouldn't acknowledge or own my feelings or even my behavior at the time. But as I continued to regularly feel triggered and lash out in anger, it started to affect my household. And then I had to face the woman in the mirror. But you know that we have a tendency to say, what? I'm good. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I just need some time to myself. Even though people, you okay? You okay? I'm good. Even though you weren't. Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like things were just like spinning out of control? You go through your day-to-day activities, outward you're thriving. Outward you look good, you got it going on, you're taking care of business, but you know that things aren't right. You knew that. Nobody else may know it, but you know. You ever felt that way? Raise your hand if you felt that way. You know things aren't right. You're feeling inside, you're feeling sadness, you're feeling misunderstood, you're feeling like crazy sometimes. You're drinking and smoking and you're trying to just ease your mind and just silence the constant chatter in your mind, in your head. Just won't shut up. I get that. I had all that going on. All that. I get that. I still didn't want to go to therapy. See, going to therapy was acknowledging that there was a problem with me. Who want to do that? But see, the drinking and the marijuana that I chose to self-medicate with didn't heal me. It's a Band-Aid. But it didn't heal me. Nothing went away. Therapy, self-awareness, coaching, and Jesus. That was the prescription that got this sister together. Not necessarily in that order, but therapy, self-awareness, coaching, and Jesus. I'm talking about the secret to owning your story. Trauma survivors develop many limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs will always tell you what you can't do, who you can't be, and who you're not. Limiting beliefs are those negative narratives and stories that we tell ourselves, about our abilities and our skills. These beliefs often keep us from achieving the things that we say that we desire most in life. As Black women, we have shared limiting beliefs. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Because one being that we must always be strong. Take it, hold our heads up, put our big girl panties on, and keep it moving. Right? Who has time to cry? Or even address our internal struggles? It's seen as a sign of weakness. And weak, we are not. Right? But let me tell you something, sis. If you don't stop and acknowledge your pain, if you continue to thrive outwardly but inwardly, you're dealing with these internal silent tears, you're going to fall apart. And you're going to fall so deep that you're not going to know how to get back up. That's not the life that the Lord wants for you. It's okay to say, I'm hurting. I don't feel seen. I feel misunderstood. I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm lonely. I need help. It's okay to say those things. Healing is bread. It's our portion, and we're supposed to live a life of abundance. We aren't meant to live this lackluster life, just faking it, going through motions and existing, but not even enjoying our existence. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to think about this. Let me ask you a question. Think about it. When did you start to love yourself? When did you start to love yourself? I asked myself that. When did I start to love myself? Because like many of you, I had it going on. And when you have it going on, you think you love yourself, right? I had money, traveled, a great group of friends, ate good, party good, kids didn't want for nothing. I didn't really want for nothing. That's love. You're loving yourself. You're taking care of yourself. Yeah. I had to ponder that. Did I really love myself? And I couldn't have. You see, when you love yourself, you take care of yourself in here. You don't allow your body to be used. You don't sell yourself. You definitely don't stay in unhealthy relationships, even friendships. You don't stay in any unhealthy relationship. And you don't count your worth based on material things, not when you love yourself. When you love yourself, you value yourself. You understand that nothing external has power over you. You know that you have control over yourself. Loving yourself is taking responsibility for your actions. Loving yourself is being honest with yourself. Loving yourself is aligning yourself up with who God says you are, because He says you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and I believe Him. Loving yourself is forgiving yourself. It's being kind to yourself and extending grace to yourself. Let me ask you something else. What's the worst thing that happened to you as an adult? And I want to tell you about this. The day I embraced change, the day I authentically started to love myself. And I remember this day because I was staring in the mirror. It was in 2017, and I was battling stage 3 breast cancer. And I was staring in the mirror at a face I had never seen before, at a bald head and no eyebrows and no lashes, no anything, because the chemotherapy had taken all the hair from my body. I remember looking down and looking at my breasts, but not my breasts. Some foreign material inside of me called expanders, painful. They were on me, attached to me, but they felt so far removed from me. I remember this. I remember looking at my scars. I remember just staring and looking at the scars from radiation, from the multiple surgeries, from the port. I remember looking at my arm, this same arm, this hand, swollen from lymphedema. I remember looking at it, going through the motions, but then something shifted. I was so grateful to be alive, y'all. So I couldn't stay there. I made an inner resolve to say, I'm moving forward in faith. I'm loving me and my bald head and my no eyebrows. I just started to love me, not just the good parts, but just all of me and my new normal. That's when I began to truly own my story. So let me tell you the secret to owning your story. Owning your story is openly walking in the new. It's being fierce as a tiger, brave as a lion, and free as a bird. That's how you walk when you're owning your story. My sisters, you can't control. You can't conquer what you don't confront. And you can't confront what you don't acknowledge. That's real. So when I speak to people, especially women, I speak to you about how important it is to define your story. Because when you're defining your story, you're acknowledging what it is. And then that acknowledgement brings healing. It brings healing because the emotional parts, oh my goodness, the emotional pain that we've experienced, it just lingers in our body and it has more effects on us than any physical pain. And then it's owning your story. You're seeing it for what it is, but you're detaching the emotion from it. You're not letting it control you any longer. Internationally known speaker Lisa Nichols, someone I admire, she says, don't stand in your story, stand on your story. And that resonates so deeply with me. Don't stand in your story no more. Stand on your story. Owning your story is standing on your story. I want you to know that you are necessary, sister. You are necessary. Nothing that you've gone through is wasted. Nothing. It's not wasted. All of it works together for good. You may not have my story. Not many have my story, and that's okay. You don't need my story. You have your story. And your story matters. Your story counts. Your voice matters. Own it. One thing I know that silences us, trauma, emotional trauma, abuse, childhood abuse, and also being in like narcissistic relationships. One commonality is the theft of our voice. But I say no more. And I ask you to say that with me, no more. No more. No more shame. No more guilt. No more negative self-talk. No more. Be free. Be free, sis. Be free to live. Be free to love. Be free to be. As I close, if you don't remember nothing else, if you don't remember nothing else, remember this. Remember this one thing. An abundant life is an authentic life. And an authentic life comes from owning your story. I'm Tara Tucker. I thank you so very much for taking this time out and allowing me to be before you this day. And I want to give you a free gift. I want to give you a free ebook that goes more into detail on how you can own your story. Click the link below and grab your free gift. Many blessings.